Okay, what you're going to do today is we're going to go back to thinking about transnational companies, and in particular, we're going to think about something we sort of touched on last time, which is sweatshops. So today's learning objectives are: firstly, you can understand what a sweatshop is. Secondly, you can describe why sweatshops are bad for the people who work in them. And thirdly, you can consider why it's our ways to improve and to get rid of sweatshops. If we look here, a sweatshop is a place where basic worker rights are not respected. Okay, so we saw this cartoon last time. Now, what does it mean to have your rights not respected? It means that workers aren't paid enough. They are overworked, which means they work long hours, um, and with maybe very few breaks, and they're abused. And abuse can mean a number of things. It can mean physical. It can mean, so that can be people being hurt maybe if they don't work hard enough. It can be verbal, so people being shouted at. It can be people having something important like food taken away from them, or it could be sexual as well. Now, there are probably sweatshops in every country in the world, and if it's a sweatshop, workers' wages are usually between 1% and 1.5% of the final cost of the product. So with a pair of Nike trainers, that might mean that they get, for making that, they get maybe 30 crowns. Okay, but often it might be less than that. That might be what they earn in a day. Now, since sweatshop workers are generally paid less than their daily expenses and never able to save money to improve their lives, so that means that when you take into account the fact that these people will have to pay for somewhere to live, so daily expenses like your rent, your food for your family, maybe it'll be education for their children if they live in a country where they have to pay for that and it's not given freely. So if they're getting paid less money than what we'd call the cost of living, so the cost of children's school, your food, somewhere to live, maybe even your healthcare as well, if they get paid less than that, they can't save money because they have to spend everything they're earning. So they don't save anything and they're not able to improve their lives. And this is what we call a cycle of poverty. Because once they earn something, they spend it and then they have to go back and work there. There's never a chance to maybe save up in order to maybe pay for their education or training or to move to somewhere better. They don't have that opportunity. Now, we can see a logo here, it's slavery, but with the Nike logo. And one of the reasons that we'll see in a minute, Nike is being criticised. So in this picture, we can see a young boy sewing a football with a Nike logo. And we can see here that in these pictures, children are being forced to work. They're not allowed an education or a normal childhood. Now, the International Labour Organization, which is connected to the United Nations, estimates that 250 million children between the ages of 5 and 14 are working in developing countries. Some are beaten, some are denied the right to leave their workplace and go home to their families, so they might be forced to live there. We can see children there stacking bricks. It's not unusual for those children to have been taken from their families. And the last bit here will tell us some are even abducted and forced to work. So abducted is like being kidnapped. It's been taken away from your family, not allowed to return to them, and forced to work. And here we're going to see a bit more of this in a minute as an example of Nike as one company that has been criticised for this. And we can see here they actually, in 2001, they admitted that abuse was going on at their plant, which included bullying, sexual assaults, and other physical abuse was taking place at their plants which they were responsible for. So these aren't just companies that you've never heard of. These are companies that we all probably use most days in some form. Now, what you're going to do in your book is there's two main tasks today. The first one is a kind of information treasure hunt. You have to read through the information. Each question will be connected to a web link, and you have to try and find the information and put it into your own words. It's very easy for me to spot if you've copied and pasted, so please don't do that. Your second task is to read an article and to summarise it, and there's some information there to help you. If you have any questions, you should be coming into the meet to ask me.